Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it, man. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. You're coming to the show and yeah, giving your valuable time to our audience and me. And yeah, I really appreciate it. So yeah, before we jump into having our conversation and learn more about you. So I have a few things to ask before we get into like what made you start into business world, and is there something you really wanted to do with your life? You knew like you can do in business or just accidentally being an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a kind of a loaded question. So there's different pores within your mindset and culture, and
Yeah.
different regions of the world have different levels of poverty. But in America, I grew up poor, and I always was working. Me and my friends were always working. We didn't want to be poor. So it's like from picking up trash on the road to change it into money
Mhm.
to doing yard work for people. I mean, literally, I was shoveling snow at like 6 years old for people to make money. So I always had the drive to not be poor
Yeah.
and to get out of that situation. But I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, quote unquote. And I knew that I just wanted to help people and glorify God. So that was kind of my focus. And then when I went to college, I was actually planning on being an engineer.
Mhm.
And I was doing that because people kept telling me to be an engineer because I was good at it. But
Yeah.
it's not what I want to do. So my sophomore year at college, I switched to sales and marketing. And then I'm like, wow, I love this. This is a fit. This is great. And I excelled at it easily. So that's kind of how I found my way here. In the last 25 years, I've been just enjoying the career, and I get to help people grow. I get to help businesses thrive, which helps the economy and the citizens. So all around the world, we just get to help people. So it's a great life.
Yeah, that's great. And you're like a consulting, right? You're like doing a consulting work for entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah, right. My primary business is, for a long time, I'd go into companies that were basically going solvent or going bankrupt, and I turn them around and make them profitable.
Yeah.
But man, that was a lot of work and stress. So back in 2012, I switched and I just started working with local companies. And then I was still like, man, this is a bunch of work and I don't mind it. But as soon as I leave, who knows what's going to happen again?
It's true.
So I started doing consulting. So right now I do sales and marketing consulting, and I work with businesses as long as we align morally.
Yeah.
And basically, here's their goals. We evaluate where they're realistically at. We reverse engineer the plan for them to get there.
Mhm.
And then when we're done, I either say, hey, here's the handbook, go run the plays yourself. Here's the handbook. I'll coach you along the way and we'll adapt and overcome. Or you focus on what you love and me and my team will do the rest for you. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's great. So you being an entrepreneur and business owner, like we're having a conversation previously, we want to talk about that topic will be like a never quit. And I,
Yes.
I I think this is really close to you because you've been through like a lot of ups and downs building your business and career like where you are today. So why is never quit? Why is this too close to you, that topic? And why we're having a discussion about that?
Man, because this is it. You, me, every human listening to this, and every
Yeah.
human on the planet. Um, we all have a purpose. God created us, he loves us, he wants the best for us. Well, on the flip side of that, you got Satan. He wants to destroy us, to discourage us, to make us useless, to waste life.
Yeah.
So when we're on this earth, we might have varying beliefs, but at the end of the day, we're humans. There's one race, the human race. And you're going to have struggles. I'm going to have struggles. Everybody's going to have struggles. They might be really bad lows, they might be really high highs, they might be somewhere in between. But the reality is there's always going to be challenge and struggle,
Mhm.
but that's what makes the victory worth it, right?
Yeah.
So when you are facing physical ailment, whether you're facing financial ailment, mental illness, addictions, it doesn't matter what you're facing, or maybe multiple of them at a time. You got to focus on what's ahead. And even if you can only see the next step, just focus on the next step. And
Yeah,
it could be a day, it could be an hour, it could be a year, but just focus on the next step, but don't quit. When we get everything right in life, that's when we'll go home for eternity, right? Until
definitely.
then, you keep fighting or you die trying, but don't quit in between. And like you alluded to, I've had personal tragedies, I've had, abuses, I'm critically ill 3 times in my life where the doctors are like, you're going to die,
Yeah.
make out your will. I've had loss of finances, which it wasn't like I went and gambled it away or made bad investments, stuff I couldn't control.
Mm,
Like when you get sick and you can't work, and
yeah.
then you're thankfully living off savings. Well, at some point,
It
you
dries
start.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's even if you have a lot of money, there's a lot of expenses, and it can go away fast. And then what if, we had it where we were actually following what we felt was God's will? And I believe it was, right? And when that happened, boom, the bottom blew out. I got critically ill. We lost hundreds of $1,000s on a house because it was right when the real estate market,
Yeah.
like, popped. And I mean, but again, all the details don't matter. What matters is, okay, God's a loving God. He's not a vindictive God. And if I'm still here, there's a purpose. So just keep fighting, keep moving forward. And it's not always like, hey, I'm running and look how fast I'm going.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you're on the ground, you're bloody, you're hurting, and you're just crawling an inch forward. But then hold on to that rock. And then when you get the strength, you crawl another inch. And then eventually you get back on your feet and you start running again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a one thing and another. Life's gonna throw at you. Like you had like a different kind of events in your life, like you mentioned 3 times, like critical illness. Then you had to go through a divorce. Then you had to go through like a financial difficulties. So it's always something, right? Even though with me, like I lost both of my parents age of 13, then moved to UK on a 16. Then again, like there is a news struggle I had to come through. Like I was working like a 12-hour shift in a place, and then I was going to college at the same time, getting my education done and everything. I was critically ill as well 3 years back, then got better from it. And even then, last 2, 3 months, I was critically ill. I was like hospitalized. I was home,
Oh
bed
man.
rest. Yeah, I was diagnosed with IBD, so I was bleeding through my bowel. So it was a really, really bad condition. I had anemia because loss of blood, so I couldn't really focus on a computer screen, look at my phone, and I'm feeling dizzy, feel like a fainting all the time. Couldn't even walk, going from my room to the bathroom. I couldn't really make it because that week I was recovering from it. And even the last year, we blessed with our first child, and he had a brain damage when he was born. So 2 months he was in an ICU. We had to go back and forth, and that teaches us like not to quit on certain things. Life gonna throw at us, and we have to keep moving forward with it and live your life in the same way. So tell us a little bit what kind of mindset you have in terms of like a never quitting phase, like when you had like a critical illness. Obviously, you didn't know, like all of a sudden you're gonna get ill that bad, and you have to go through like a losses on your business as well. Like when you're running a business, and if you're not actively running a business, it's not easily to manage that because uh, I couldn't run my business last 3 months because I was so worn out. I couldn't even lift my phone or anything like that, so couldn't even get in touch. So how did you manage, like when you was really ill? How did you manage your business and life? How do you had the mindset?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm truly sorry that you have to go through all that. I mean, I didn't cause it,
Yeah,
but I feel bad that you have to go through that journey. The good news is it seems like you have a great attitude, and when you get out the other side, you're going to be even stronger.
yeah,
So, but that doesn't mean you want to go through it or I want to go through it. Anyone who wants to go through, because
yeah,
I'll tell you right now, there's a whole lot of stuff in life that I'm sure you and me, we're like, okay, we're thankful we went through that and learned, but I never want to do that again.
it's true,
Right.
it's true.
So the never quitting, like right now, like listening to everything you're enduring and you're still going through, I'm sure a lot of it, there's different phases in life. I mean, there's the highs and the lows,
Yeah,
the mountaintops and the valleys. And to keep going, you can't just focus on physical, you can't just focus on business, you can't just focus on relationships. It's all together.
yeah,
Everything's integrated, right? So for you or for anybody going actively through the struggle, myself, um, how I kept motivated was it just kept going back to because I was probably like you, like it
Yeah.
wasn't like a couple days, it was years I was sick,
Mm.
like years, literal years. And then back in 2005, I started having pain to 2007. From 2007 to 2009, I was in agony every day. And I got to the point where I wasn't praying to get through a day, I was praying to get through an hour.
Oh, wow.
And then what I recommend to people is this: the medical profession, and that word is key.
Yeah.
It used to be a medical practice, and now they call it a medical profession. And big pharma, I don't care what country you're from, there's a lot of money in pharmaceuticals and these procedures. And the doctors aren't looking in a lot. Now, I'm not saying doctors are evil. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great physicians out there, but this is a joke, but it's real.
Yeah.
What do you call a doctor that graduates first in his class or her class?
I'm not sure.
A doctor.
All right. Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
what do you call a doctor that graduates last in their class?
I
A
think still a
doctor.
doctor. Yeah.
Exactly. So you could have the smartest or the dumbest, and
Yeah.
they're all a doctor when they graduate.
True.
Then you have care. Who cares? Who doesn't? There's so many factors. So I personally believe from my experiences, like for every 10 doctors, 5 are adequate, 3 are terrible, 2 are fantastic.
Yeah.
But why I'm talking about all this is when you're going through the dark times and the doctors are telling you you're going to die, or you have diabetes and there's no cure.
Yeah.
I don't accept that. I do not accept that. I do not believe it. I believe that everything is a symptom if you're having an issue. I believe that God created our bodies. We're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
And my body has damage of some sort. I believe it can be regenerated. Now, sometimes it might take like years and years and years. Hey,
Yeah.
so what'll happen is your body regenerates, and sometimes it takes longer than other times, but your body will heal and regenerate. But we need to find the cause of the real problem.
Mm.
So when I was sick, or when you're sick, or when a listener's sick, I don't care if 999,000 people all had this problem. I want to find the cure. That's my mentality. If I'm still here, God has a purpose. God is not vindictive. He does not hurt people. He does not want to hurt people. He might allow it sometimes because in the end, it's going to benefit us
Yeah.
and it'll glorify him. But he is not going to allow anything to happen or cause anything to happen that isn't for our ultimate good. Romans 8:28, all things work together for good to those that love God, those called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So for you and me, it can be bleak, it can be scary, it can be dark. But if you're alive, keep fighting, keep looking for the cure, keep finding ways to make, income. Like if you're struggling, there's been times where I didn't have money to pay bills. Well, I did what I could at that moment. And then in the other moments, I found ways to generate more money, or, how can I get, instead of a job that pays X dollars an hour, to pay, Y dollars an hour.
Yeah.
You're always trying to grow. You're always trying to strive. But there's times where, like you said, for 3 months, you couldn't even focus on your cell phone.
Yeah.
That's a season. You can't work, but you do what you can each day. And then you accept that you've done your best. And to me, and you can answer this, what you thought, but the most tormenting part to me was being sick, not being able to do anything physically. I was so sick, I couldn't get out of bed at times. And my kids had to watch me. And it like broke my heart. Like I should be out there playing with them and spending
Same
time
thing
with
I
them.
experienced. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what that's what you
Yeah.
experienced,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the most tormenting part is that you're seeing them suffer. It's not even
Yeah.
about you. So the not quitting is you got to acknowledge that if you're still alive and breathing, there really is a purpose for you. Second, what's your real problem? Not the symptoms. What's the real problem? And then put your effort into solving that. And some things, I believe everything can be solved. There's an answer to every question out there. It's just, is it
finding
in
it.
our,
It's the finding the question answer, right?
Yeah. And is it in our, is it, you know, just because the answer's out there doesn't mean we're going to find it right away. It might take years.
Yeah.
But our job is to keep searching and keep striving and never quit. And again, it could be in business, it could be physical, it could be relational. You're always doing our best and accepting our best, but the results are up to God. And the results, you know, you reap what you sow. There's always the correlation. Like some people call it karma, people call it different names, but you reap what you sow. So if you're living a good life, when it comes to being sick, that's so, you know, in pain, especially, just keep saying to yourself, even if doctors are telling you there's no hope, there's always hope. And
I experienced the same thing like last year when, like I mentioned earlier, like my son was in ICU for 2 months. One was actually born in the next 24 hours. Doctor said he's not gonna make it. All of them, big consultant and everything. They came to me and my wife, got some tissue paper and everything, and they're saying he's not gonna make it. There is no chance for him survive even 1% next 24 hours. So they just like kind of giving up. And like I told my wife, like let the doctor do whatever they need to do. We keep on praying and we keep our hope alive, even though he gets 1% better each day, and we have the hope alive. And eventually, like after 5 days, every single day we keep on going to visit him. Like we stayed there, making our prayers, what we believe, and then he's getting better every single day. And by fifth day, like he got discharged from the same hospital, children's hospital, to like a normal hospital, because he had to stay ICU for like a 6-7 weeks before he get out the oxygen and everything before this transfer him to home. But actually, like look at what actually happened. They told us he's not gonna make it next 24 hours. He doesn't have like 1% to chance for surviving. We kept our hope alive and making sure we don't quit on him, and that kept us going. And yeah, I totally believe on that, what you're trying to say. Like they need to
and
solve
how is
like
he today?
He's doing absolutely fine right now, just a little bit behind on like a physical development wise, but other than he's doing absolutely great. He's like a 1.5 years old now.
But even
Absolutely great.
that, like, again, you don't, everybody hates to see their kids suffer or struggle, but your kid may have extra hardships and extra burden. Like he has to work 3 times as hard as everybody else to get back to, you know, speed, right? But then he might accelerate and surpass everybody and be the most powerful man alive. You know, we can't see ahead. And that's awesome. And just keep, you know, each day you do your best, you pray for wisdom, you pray for direction, but you got to take action. And then if you're moving the wrong direction, ask God to show you. And he will. But that's, I'm really happy for your son and that he's doing better, man. And for you too.
Thank you, really appreciate it. So yeah, that's why I brought up the conversation, because like what you had to go through, like I experienced the same thing, and I can totally agree on the like not to quit on things. Like how does it feel like being in a bed when you're ill and you couldn't actually do things you wanted to do? And eventually things works out. Like if you have like a good faith and good belief and you work towards it, things pan out quite great. So tell us a little bit about like when you're going through like difficulties on your business, how did you put your mind into like not to go on a negative side rather than focusing on moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for myself, my clients, I've found for sure most of the problems within a business are self-sabotage. Most of the problems within your own business, we've caused.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to pause there for a second. It's your fault, right? It's my fault. And that's what you have to accept. And with any problem or life circumstance, again, I don't know about you, but for me, once I accept it, then I can be free. Even with the sickness, like I'm going to go back to that for 1 second. When I was 18 to 20 and critically ill, and then back in 2007 to 2009 and critically ill, when I got peace and joy and it didn't bother me anymore, no matter how much physical pain I was in, it's when I accepted. I'm like, you know what? I'm 35 years old and I had a good life. I had ups and downs and I had challenges. And even if I had 5 days of pleasure, that's 5 days more than some people ever had. There's
Yeah.
some people that are born in a wheelchair, they're tortured every day. So, you know what? I had a good life. And as soon as I accepted it, boom, everything started getting better. And when it comes to business, you need to accept your situation and take responsibility and then reinvent yourself or adjust, adapt, and overcome. So if you're like, man, I cannot keep a client, well, it's not the client's fault. If you're bringing results, the clients are
Yeah.
going to stay. And if you have a business model that's not working, okay, realign. Like I said at the beginning, look at your goals. What is your goal? Your 3 year, your 5 year, however far ahead you want to go. And then where are you realistically at? Okay, well, if you're going to get to this goal, reverse engineer. What are the steps to
Yeah.
get there? And then say, is your current path that way? If it's not, switch. So with COVID, a lot of people struggled with switching their model.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I haven't done that. I've never done it that way. Okay, well, this is your opportunity to grow.
It's true.
And even after COVID, it's like I'm running a business and I'm selling this product or service and it's going well. Well,
Mm.
then you start seeing sales dry up. You got to find the root cause. You can't just say it's the economy because there's always money. There's
Yeah.
always money. Okay. There's currency, and I don't even want to use the term money. There's always currency in the world. Doesn't matter what country you're from. It's there. Business is there. Sometimes there's certain industries that are more difficult or impacted harder, but you got to adjust. And, there was a great book. Did you ever read the book or hear of it? Who Moved My Cheese, or Who Moved the Cheese?
No, I didn't read that.
Oh man, that's a short book. I mean, short. There's 3 parts. Part 1 is the setup. Part 2 is the story. Part 3 is the explanation. You can
Okay.
read this book in like an hour. It's
Right.
fantastic. Who Moved the Cheese, or Who Moved My Cheese? And it just talks about how, you're shooting for a goal and then the world changes. Well,
Yeah.
readjust. And in business, you have to do the same thing. So if you're a salesperson or if you own the business, you have to look at, why am I struggling?
Mm.
Is it my presentation? Is it the product's no longer viable? People don't need it? Is it the marketing material I'm using is bad? Is it, I'm putting all this money into social media advertising, but then when they land on the website, can't convert? I mean, there's so many variables, but at the end of the day, you can't make excuses for why it's happening. You just have to solve the problem. And I remember, I don't want to say this arrogantly, but I want to use it as an illustration because it just popped into my head. So hopefully it's specifically made for one of your listeners, right?
Yeah.
Or many. I used to be during college, I worked full time at Gateway Computers. They used to be
Okay.
Gateway Computers stores.
Right.
And we were in a C-rated store. So, like New York City is like an A-rated store.
Yeah.
Then like, Sacramento, California would be a B-rated store. So a lot of population, a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Well, Pensacola, I love Pensacola, great community, but it's a C-rated store. Doesn't have a huge population, doesn't have a ton of money. So we're in a C-rated store. Out of like 25 people that work there, like 20 of them would complain there's no money in Pensacola and how the customers just want to buy the cheapest package. And, but there were 5 of us like, no, you just need to listen to their needs, show them what you have that'll fulfill those needs,
Yeah.
and sell it. You're helping them. You're not cheating them. We're helping them meet their needs. We were ranked nationally. So while people were literally complaining in the manager's office about how they can't sell a computer, we were out front selling computers and making a ton of money doing it. So it's all about perspective, because if you're in a business and the whole industry's suffering, there's
Yeah.
still an opportunity somewhere. I remember the old like iPhone knockoffs
Yeah.
where they made it not an iPhone. What do they call them? Little music devices.
iPod.
But Yeah, iPod. That's it. iPod.
Yeah.
I remember, they start making iPod knockoffs all around the world. People were buying these iPod knockoffs. Well, then it cooled off.
Yeah.
So somebody has a factory of iPod knockoffs and everybody's like getting rid of them because like, oh, I'm going to lose my shirt. Here, buy them for a penny. Well, then somebody has a genius idea to change the guts and make a tens unit out of them, like a little electric thing for your body. You stick some pads on and it gives
Yeah.
electricity. So now they took that lemon and made very profitable lemonade.
Yeah.
They took this thing they just bought for a penny and sold it for $100. So you just got to keep looking for answers and solutions and not quit and not make excuses. You got to make results.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you so much, David. So we are coming to end of this podcast. So yeah, I really appreciate your time. So those who's listening to the podcast, if anyone wants to reach out to you, learn more about you, what's the best place to find you?
You can go to my website, davidpasqualone.com. I don't know, it's kind of hard to spell, but DavidPasqualone. So davidpasqualone.com. You can check out our podcast and any podcast directory in the world, the Remarkable People podcast. And that show is just about inspiring true life stories where our guests not only share what they overcame or achieved, but they break it down in the practical steps of how they did it so we can too. So that's the podcast. You can get to me through that as well. But I'd love to help anybody. I mean, if I can help you, shoot some emails back and forth. My email's me@davidpasqualone.com. Super original, right? But I just want to help people grow. And I just, as a final message, I did not grow up with a golden spoon, a silver spoon, whatever country you're from, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But I've had a great life, even in the darkest moments, because God's always been with me. So God's not giving up on us. Don't give up on God. Have your foundation. And then from there, each day, each moment, whatever you're working with, just do the best you can and accept it. And like we were discussing, you're sick in bed the last 3 months. You're not making income. You're not working. You can't be the husband you want to be. You can't be the father you want to be. It's like all these things are stacked against you. So in the moments you can be present, be there, be full of love, and live each breath and moment to the fullest. Because none of us, you could be the peak of health. You could be a triathlon or a marathon runner listening to this. You could walk outside and get in a car accident. Nobody's guaranteed their next breath. So make sure your priorities are right. When we die, there's only 2 options, heaven or hell. So figure out where you're going here and then enjoy this life and more than that, eternity to come.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have like a wonderful day and the rest of your year. And yeah, it's a pleasure doing a podcast with you.
Oh, absolutely, man. Let's stay in touch. It's been great speaking with you today.
Yeah, thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so
Hey,
much for
can you hear me?
listening to this podcast. So if you want to go,
Oh, okay.
so if you want to go check out David website and visit his podcast as well, and then talk to you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay healthy. Talk to you next.